Hello, Coach Judy. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Kalila?
Very, very good. Happy to see you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I always love
Amazing.
our discussions.
Yes, we do, right? We have lots to talk. Lots to talk
Mhm.
today. So I wanted to show everyone that today's live, this live is all about our a magazine that we just launched. The issue that we launched is issue number 8. We've been launching these magazines for the last year and a half. It comes out every 2 months. It used to be called Parenting, Learning, and Leading. No, Parenting, Learning, and Living. Now it is called Learning, Living, and Leading. Right, Judy? Coach Judy?
Yes.
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 So, Coach Judy was, even though she's so busy with so many things, coaching, being a mom, being a daughter, and working at the school, she actually contributed an article to this magazine. So I'm here with her because I want her to talk about her article and what she shared. But before we begin, as you know, our drill, we have to bring ourselves now and here.
Yes.
Because if we don't, then we can't really focus. We can't get into flow. We can create things. So, in order to create even this conversation that I'm going to have with Judy, Coach Judy, and I, and with all of you who are watching, we have to come here and now because this is the only place that's possible for us to listen and create. So, how do you bring yourself here and now, Judy?
I love this. I love what your past, future, and bringing it into the present. In fact, I use it with my husband when he starts going on. I'll be like, past, present, or future.
Yes, yes. Somebody else told me that too, and said the most of the time we always practice everything with our with our husband or wife, and also with our children. Right? They're our first clients. Whenever we learn something, they're the first person to try it out. So yes. So what happens when we're so in the past? Is that productive when you go into the past, Coach Judy?
No. When we focus on the past, our mind leaves our current goals and it goes to the past. It goes to blame, it goes to shame, it goes to guilt. And all that does is bring up anxieties and tensions that prevents us from accomplishing what we want to accomplish right now.
Yeah. So it keeps us busy over here.
Hmm.
But sometimes we could. Somebody might say, "Well, I always think about good stuff, or I think about good stuff too." That's great if you think about past and good memories are good. But unfortunately, many of us don't go to the good things. So it's usually it's the ones that right keep us
We
stuck.
have to trust ourselves to let those good things and those things that we learn and those things that impact us, we have to trust ourselves to let those things be with us in the present. We don't have to keep looking back for them to impact us naturally.
Yes. So the only thing that we can do with the past, instead of visiting, revisiting, and revisiting, and when spending quite a bit of time in a day, in an hour, we can just take the lessons from it because basically that's all they're good for, right? The lessons and the memories of it. That if they're good, take it and you have to let it go. Even holding my hand up like this hurts after a while. Because
Yeah.
you have to let it go, right? Otherwise, it just doesn't make sense. So then, what we do if we're not in the past, most of us go to our future. We like to think about our future, which is great. It's important to plan future, right? But
Yes.
what do we do normally, though, when we're thinking about our future? Do we think from a clean perspective or do we project the past and think through that?
We project the past a lot and we also focus on things that we can't control because we can't control everything about the future. Our
Yes,
present can contribute to our future,
yes,
and the lessons from the past can contribute to our future. But
yes,
focusing on all of that rather than being in the moment and being present is not going to get us where we need to go ultimately.
yes. So somebody might say, so don't tell you're telling me not to think about the future. No, you can think about it, but without projecting the past onto it for sure, right? And also if we thinking about it, really we're not doing anything to create the future, right? So we can think about it, but we have to bless it and release it. It's available to you, but you still have to bring yourself now and here. Because now and here is the only place I can create. You can create, anyone can create. Everywhere else We're just busy thinking about it and recreating or projecting and creating it again, right? So that's why we have to bring ourselves here and now. Now, to bring us here and now, there's an amazing tool. We all have it. It's free. We were given that when we were born, but unfortunately, we don't use it to the full capacity it can provide us. You know what that is, Coach Judy? Our
Breathing.
breath. Yes, breathing. Yes. How many of us hold it up like this and breathe so shallow? And, we don't even remember when I took a deep breath, that kind of life, because we're all so busy, right? So, what is that what you use to bring yourself now in here? Do you use breathing, Coach
I
Judy?
do. I do it subconsciously now. I even do it with my students. I'm just like, oh,
So, is there a pattern you do it with them that powerful? Like any counting?
I have everyone to close their eyes, to let their shoulders drop, and to listen to me breathe, and to try to mimic what they hear me doing.
Beautiful.
Their eyes are closed, so they have to really tune in to
Hmm.
hear me, and I kind of do it a little bit more audibly for them. And
Yes.
then eventually we are all in sync.
Yes. Let's get into sync, all of us here, all of us over there, everywhere. So let's take an inhale for 4. Close your eyes because you can tune in even more. So inhale for 4, hold for 4, and exhale for 8 because you want to let go every stress that you've been carrying, everything that you've been thinking, just let it go through your mouth. Just let it go, right? Because we just tend to carry a lot. We just love carrying our things around, right? But we have to let it go. Okay, so let's do another one. Close your eyes, inhale for 4, hold for 4, and let it go for 8 through your mouth. But if you have your feet on the floor, it even helps more because you can ground yourself, right? So again, inhale for 4, hold for 4, and really let it go. Don't hold anything, just let it go through your mouth. Everything and anything that's stressing you, worrying you, keeping you up at night, and keeping you anxious, we have to let it go, because if we can let it go, we get a fresh start, because only way we can fresh start and do things and learn, live and lead is from this place here now. That's it. Anywhere else, nothing's going to happen, right? So we have to be here. So now I have here and now Coach Judy. So I'm excited to talk to her about her article that she contributed to our magazine. So Judy, your magazine was about some things that you learned, unlearned, right? So there was some moment in the article you talked about a phone call. So when you got that phone call, what did your body feel before your mind started solving? Do you remember the phone call?
My body was immediately tense and fear. Tension and fear is all that I felt.
Hmm. So tell us a little bit, because we can't keep it too suspense because then nobody's going to follow it. What was the call about?
Well, my son was 18, and as they grow, you got to get them more and more and more leeway to make their own decisions.
Hmm.
And you don't want to get a phone call from the police about your son and or any child or anybody in your family. And I got that phone call.
Hmm.
He was with an officer, and he had made a stupid decision. Of course, it was a decision that I had warned him against. He had something in his car to help out a friend, and he took the blame for it. And I've been fixing things for him all his life. I've been protecting it. I've been trying to make it where he could function and not be so overwhelmed. And this was something that Mama could not do anything.
Yes.
And he had to learn to accept the consequences and manage them on his own. And at that time, I realized I had done him a disservice by not allowing him to experience consequences and fear and responsibility and handling things on his own earlier so that he would know how to avoid and how he should have responded in that situation that he was currently in as a young adult. As an adult, he was 18.
Yes. So you said your first instinct when you got that phone call wasn't anger, it was fear. Fear of what exactly? Were you fear of what?
It was fear of my baby suffering,
Mm.
fear of my child being scared, of him not knowing what to do. Because that, in high school and elementary school, I could jump in and I could hold his hand through it and guide him through it. But I couldn't go jump into that situation and give my 2 cents.
No. So it was hard.
It was very hard. And
Mm.
it only took a few minutes, maybe even less than a few minutes, for me to shift from anger to disappointment, and then from disappointment to anger at him. But then I quickly realized, yes, he made a poor decision, but I had not prepared him to make better decisions.
Yes.
I was letting him experience things in the home. I was too quick to help because I wanted to keep the peace. I wanted to keep things calm.
Yes. And we don't want our kids to fail. We want them, as an instinct, we also have that I need to protect them, right? But there's ways that we need to be careful with that, because then they might not learn what they need to learn from that, right? If we keep doing it.
Exactly.
So what
And
old story got activated in that moment when you got that phone call? In what old story for you got activated?
guilt. I had always, I had a rough childhood and I didn't want my kids growing up in that same environment. So early on, I made a conscious decision that things were going to be calm. I was going to be there for them. I was going to try to shield them from the hurt and the anger and the screaming and everything. But in doing that, I ended up parenting from protection and from guilt. And both of those things ended up putting both of my kids, in a position where being independent and being able to do for themselves and know that they could do for themselves and have that self-confidence as they got older and older and older.
Mm.
I learned quickly that my protection was shielding them from experiences that ultimately shielded them from readiness.
Mm. Yep. So how did guilt disguise itself as love? Because you said you had the guilt, right? But it was kind of love. It was a lot of love, right? Because that's what we do as parents. It's a lot of love. It's where
Yeah.
it comes from.
My son had some health issues, and I blame myself for that. Looking back, I don't control genetic things. I mean, it's not like I injected him with an ADHD bug or anything.
Are you sure?
I'm sure. I would have been too scared to inject it if I could. I had to spend a lot of time in their youth. My dad lived with me, and I was his primary caregiver. And I had guilt that I spent so much of their childhood taking care of my dad instead of being present with them. So I carried a lot of guilt, but I was also raised to take the guilt that my parents put on me and accept it, because that was kind of their outlet, was to blame it all on me. So I wish I had recognized those things before the parenting from guilt and just carrying so much guilt impacted my children, but I didn't.
Mm.
But I know it now. And now I want to share that with other people who are in a position to make that awareness impact their child's lives while they're young, while the parents are young, while then my knowledge and my experience can help others.
Yep. So what did rescuing your son regulate in you? Like whenever you would rescue him, what part of you got regulated?
It made me feel like I'm a good mom. It made me feel like I'm not raising them in the chaos that I grew up in. I'm there for them. I'm helping them. I'm making their lives just a little bit easier. That's what it felt like in the moment. But in the long term, I think I was also protecting myself. I was trying to make myself feel better. And I was selfishly over helping them under the guise of I'm doing it for them, but I think actually I was doing it for me.
Hmm. So at what point did you see that protecting him from pain was also protecting him from practice?
The night I got that phone call. The
That's when
night
it,
I got that phone call.
and
There was
when he's old, right? This
right.
has been happening.
He was 18.
Yeah.
He could have learned those lessons of making a better decision, of not allowing others to make him feel like he had to do something for them
Hmm.
to be stronger. He could have made choices earlier that he maybe if he could have taken more risks in band or extracurricular activities. He could have, a lot of things could have happened had I not been standing in the way by making things too easy for him so that
Hmm.
he developed more logic, more reasoning, more confidence in himself. Just talking about it all gets jumbled up in my mind.
Yeah, it's hard because we want the best for our kids. We don't want them to fail. We don't want them to feel pain. But in those little moments when we have them in our safety net, right, in our house, like when they're young, those little bit of pain is good because then they understand what's going on and we can help them so that they when they get to, like, it's like muscles, right? I
Right.
go to the gym to train the muscles, so it's almost like we need to train them, those muscles, to use problem solving and those functions, executive functions that they need. We need to train them in real life situations and not
Right.
be protective of. I mean, even like when I first like started teaching my son, like that's why I always say teaching your kids are so hard because you don't have the same patience as you have with other people's kids. It's different. For some reason,
And
it's
also,
very
you have to protect the relationship with your own child,
yes.
the parent relationship.
Yeah. So when I used to, like, when I gave my son to cut something, like I would be like so stressed out that he's gonna cut it wrong. Like I wouldn't be, there was no relaxation in my body. It's like almost like it's just a paper. Just let him cut it. Like to even tell myself that, just calm down, sit down, just let him cut it the way he wants. And if he cuts it wrong, get another piece of paper and cut it again and show him again. But sometimes we want it perfect, right? So we tend to move the scissors around. We tell them so many times, like, go this way, go that way. It's just a simple example, but that's how life is. Just let them do it. Stay back, right? For me, I had to teach that myself. Like I was very much into, anytime he wrote, I wanted his letters on the line, things like that. Very picky with it. So I had to constantly tell myself, back off. Let his letter fly off the line.
Yeah.
Sometimes it looked like a trampoline. Every letter's jumping off. The letters don't sit on the line. You know how it is, right? When they're young.
My
When it-
biggest struggle was letting go when it came to the ADHD because I felt guilty about it. I felt like I needed to make sure others know, well, he did his best, but he has ADHD. Well, he can't help that he has ADHD. And at the time,
Hmm.
I was going off of the knowledge of ADHD that I had as a teacher,
Hmm.
which kind of goes to say what teachers know about ADHD. And that put him in a position where, as an 18-year-old, well, it's not my fault. It's not my fault. So
Yeah.
that was part of it too.
So let your kids practice, fail, feel pain, and be the guidance, right? Like we have to be the guides, right? I mean, I'm saying to myself, even like, I wish I knew those things when I was early in my motherhood. I wish I knew that because I was not doing that either. Like yourself, I was almost always on the protective. mode, right? Protection mode.
Yeah.
So we have to all train ourselves for that for sure. So what was the cost of being the buffer to you and to him? Like you were the buffer between both of you, right?
The cost of being buffer to me was that I couldn't be present in the moment
Yeah.
because I was so worried about what had happened, what I didn't protect him from. I was so worried about what was going to happen. Back to our star image at the beginning. I was not present right now. And looking back, I regret that I missed so much of his childhood because I was either in the past mentally or I was in the future mentally. I was not present in the moments with them.
Hmm.
The cost to him was he didn't feel like he could do anything because he had ADHD. Like he got accepted into Texas Tech, he got accepted into the engineering program, super, super smart, hands on, could create things like you wouldn't believe. But when it came down to starting to pack up his room and move into the dorms, he couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
What if the ADHD messed things up?
Mm.
What if he messed it up? Which he saw himself as an ADHD child, not a child who happens to have ADHD.
Yeah.
I let
His
the,
whole identity.
ma'am, I let the label define too much. I let the label become his definition of himself.
Yes.
And that came because I tried to excuse a lot of things because he has ADHD.
Yeah. Well,
Rather
thank you
than
for being honest. Thank you for being honest because I think many parents needs to hear this. Because in the name of protection, we tend to say, okay, that's why I say, right, whenever you get a label, it cannot become their identity. They still have their own soul print. They are still behind those labels. Or is there's a child, there's a person, there's a human, right? So when we let that label become definition, then they hold on to it forever for everything, and then we can't undo it. So it's really hard. But it's also hard for as a parent too, because when we do get those diagnoses, we don't know what to do with them, right? Like there's no manual for it,
yeah.
what to do with it. So then we just do whatever we can, the best. And then these days, there's a lot of people saying a lot of things that are so generic. This is why in our coaching, we don't offer any generic solution to anybody or any parent, because generic solutions are not going to fit your family or your son or daughter because they're unique people. So we have to customize it to that particular situation. So
Right.
with the generic advice floating around everywhere on internet and all over the place, this is another thing that parents are getting trapped in, right? Because they don't know which one's the right way to do it.
Yeah. And one thing I discovered, there's so many varying opinions. There's
Yes.
so many varying ways to work with ADHD children. And I realized if nobody agrees, then it should be based on the child, your child, not what somebody else says or does for their child, or a doctor says or does for other people's kids.
Yeah, unless you're customizing it, there's no point in just taking a generic thing and trying. You can try it, but that's what happens when you try. You might accidentally, like you just sharing here, right? Accidentally make it their own identity. Then
Right.
ADHD becomes the identity that they hold on to. So how did over support show up in small everyday moments for you?
Um, especially as a teen, every parent complains they won't get all the dishes out of their room, they won't pick up their clothes, they won't do this, they won't do that. Little things to just be a functioning member of the home. And because I made excuses, he made excuses. So eventually he made excuses about, well, I forgot, I'll do it in a minute, I'll do it in a minute. Hang on, let me finish this. That I would eventually
Do it.
feel bad and go pick up the dishes myself. I would end up, when he was gone, I would end up going and getting all his laundry and getting it washed myself. Because he's overwhelmed. He needs a break. So, and what did I do when I did that? I confirmed that if he stalls long enough, somebody's going to come in and do it for him, which was another hindering When he doesn't want to go to work, well, mom and dad will kick in if my check's a little low this week.
And also, when he went to the college, you said he couldn't go there because he thought about it. Who's going to pick up my dishes? Who's going to do my laundry?
What? That could have been, well, maybe because it was
He
9 hours
calculated.
away.
Like,
But also, he didn't think he was going to get to classes on time. Couldn't wake up. I always woke him up. If he was going to be late for school, instead of letting him get a consequence for being late to school or go to Saturday school because he had too many absences, I fussed and cajoled and made him get out of bed on time. Started my day off horrible, ended up starting his day off horrible, but he got to school on time. But who was going to do that in college?
And did that teach him, though? Did that transfer, though? That's the
No.
thing. Anything we do as parents, the skill set has to transfer, right? Him waking up in the morning has to become as independent as possible, as soon as possible, even when they're young. Because then, as you said, every time you nag, every time you go in there, you're starting your day off.
Yeah.
Too, right? Yes.
Yeah. I spent a lot of time making sure that he was meeting the expectations of the school. I wanted the school to be happy, partly because I work for the district. It's kind of difficult, but why was I teaching him so hard to cajole him and make him meet the expectations of the school? He could have learned lessons by not meeting the expectations of the school. Like, I've got to do what I'm told because it's going to affect my job. But I never let him experience those consequences in school.
Yes. So, Coach Judy, you said readiness is not same as capability. Readiness is not same as capability. When did that become undeniable for you?
After all this happened, and I started looking at things from a different way, because I had become a coach around that time before that happened, but I had become a coach. And so I was already starting to look at the world differently, look at people differently, look at actions and lack of reactions differently. So when that happened, I came to it with the view of what had been taught to me as a coach, to look at readiness. And I started seeing that I started becoming aware that he is really, really capable on a good day, when things are smooth, they're going his way, the stars are aligned. He's smart, he's loving, he's incredibly creative, incredibly hands-on. He is great. But when there was pressure, the ability did not equal what he was capable of producing at that time. The overwhelm stopped him. The overwhelm presented a barrier. And I had not taught him all along how to overcome that overwhelm, how to recognize it, redirect his thought process, and move past it. So that's what I meant by that. He was definitely had the ability when everything was going smoothly. But when overwhelm, frustration, when those things came into play, he was no longer in a state of readiness to be able to produce what he wanted to produce or could have produced.
Yes. So what did overwhelm look like in him that you used to mistake for attitude or defiance?
Yelling, slamming doors, stomping.
So he's kind of also trained you, though, right? Whenever he did that, you kind of compensated.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I didn't do it in the moment.
Yeah, but it came.
But when I gave him time to calm down, I did all the right things. But when it came time to, okay, let's move forward now. What can I do to help you move forward? Well, I've got an English paper due tomorrow and I don't even know where to start. Mom to the rescue. I could feel like a good mom. I could calm him down. And all I did was put a harness on him to keep him from developing himself.
So what changed when you stopped asking, can he do this, and started asking, can he do it when he's stressed?
I started recognizing and talking to him saying, it sounds like you have something holding you back. Let's redirect. I freaked him out. 18-year-old mom comes over and holds his wrist. I'm like, I just want to see what your heart rate is right now. Just bear with me. And he was, you're weird. But then later on, when I would raise my voice or I would start getting frustrated, he came over and did the same thing to me. I said, Mom, your heart rate's too fast. Let's take a breath.
Nice.
So, yeah, it didn't work the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not the second time. But then eventually he used it on me.
Perfect.
So.
That's the thing with the older children, right? They will joke around and they won't do it. But if they felt it, that's the thing with anything in life, right? If somebody makes you feel something, you'll never forget.
Yeah.
Even in teaching, right?
Mm-hmm.
We will forget everything. But if somebody made us feel that teacher made us feel that, we'll remember for rest of our lives, right? So that's kind of what it is about pulse, the nervous system syncing together, finding the pulse and connecting with each other, because that's our first language. We didn't have any words. Our child and ourselves, that was our first language with them, is our pulse.
Mm-hmm.
So they know, they remember. It's like remembering something like a music, when we turn on a music and if it's our music from old time, it comes on, we smile, right? There's an anchor to it. We anchored ourselves into all of those moments. So that's how the breath and the pulse syncing is actually amazing. I love it. When we do it in our parenting flow events, the live events, it's just the whole room just drops. Like it's so beautiful to witness. Yeah, thank you. So, as a holistic neurogrowth success coach, Judy, you're now using the Readiness OS with your students, with your family, right? How has that changed for you, your life? How has your life changed?
Everything's a lot calmer. My kids at school are a lot calmer. Of course, I see them for short periods of the day in the library, but I can have a class that the teacher brings them in and says they are off today. I can't get anything out of them. And she picks them up and as they walk out, I'll say, don't forget to breathe. And the teacher's like, what did you do? At home, when things start getting tense, of course, my son no longer lives at home, but now my college graduate daughter lives at home because of the economy. It just makes more sense. But when things start getting tense or busy, we just all kind of I don't focus anymore on what has been done or hasn't been done. I focus more on the readiness to make things happen.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. So what does support look like now that you've redefined it? Support.
For my son or for my students?
For your son, for your student, just in general, through Readiness OS, what does support look like now?
Now when I talk to him or call him since he's moved out, I don't focus on what he hasn't done. I don't remind him of what he needs to do as much as I used to. Of course, it's still in me to do it, as a mom. I don't approach things in a way that makes him put his guard up. Things are more calm. I stay calmer. which encourages him to stay calmer.
Mhm.
Um, we are able to all take things with more thought before we react with each other and with other people in our lives. In fact, my son's girlfriend texted me the other day and said, "You should be proud of Joseph. He coached me."
Oh,
Because
nice.
she had had a really bad day and he calmed her down and helped her redirect. And so that was awesome.
So, as a parent, do you ever think like, I wish I had this when he was little?
Oh my goodness, yes. I wish I had had this as a newlywed. So many things that everything has to be perfect. It has to be perfect in the moment. You know, when you're newlyweds, everything has to be perfect. I didn't back up to realize that this man that I've married does not live inside my brain to know what I expect and what I want and how I feel. I wasn't aware of the things that were going on. I wasn't aware of how to better approach things. As a new mom, you know, everything's got to be just perfect because what if I mess up? I only have one shot at this. Oh my goodness, having this perspective would have made things so much more calm. I would have been present so much more in the moment instead of worrying about things that were beyond my control. And that throughout their childhood, this would have made such a huge difference with home, with school, with relationships with other people, friends, and oh my goodness, it would have made a huge difference.
Yeah. That's the thing. We are here to enjoy our life. Instead, we're stressed and we're suffering in some instances, right? Because we always are, the support that we provide for our children can sometimes is not the right way to do it. And we don't know it until we do it. That's why we always say, right, our parents only did what they knew was the best.
Right.
They didn't do it because they thought they were harming us. They would, no parent ever does that unless they're, something else is going on. But normally, most parents, we do it because that's all we know.
And we also compare ourselves to unrealistic expectations that based on what we see on social media,
Yes.
on all these perfect families, all this, oh, their houses are beautiful, their children are always so, oh, everything everybody else does is perfect. And my life's not like that. And that makes us judge ourselves.
Yes.
And that just makes things spiral even more.
Yes. So, how do you know when to step in and when to step back? Step in, step back.
Oh,
With
there's
your
so many
son, with your
very
son, with your,
to
yeah,
that
it could be
question.
with anybody. Sorry, it could be with anybody.
Yeah. Um, learn about your own regulation first. And when you are regulated, you will be able to see situations clearly and you will know whether or not you need to rescue or guide. Because there are some things with our kids that we've got to step in. We can't step back and just let things unfold.
Yeah.
We've got to make sure they're learning from those situations as well. So I learned that when I'm regulated, I am able to be more present in a situation and trust myself to respond in the best way to teach and guide my kids rather than manage my kids.
Yes. And always step in if you're regulated because your nervous system can be borrowed by your child
Mhm.
easily. You can calm them
Yes.
down. So step in if you're regulated. If you're not regulated, we don't
Yes.
want to system offline.
Yes. And I can see so many times that situations escalated with my kids, be it at home or at school, because I was not regulated in that moment. And they were just reacting to my dysregulation at times. My daughter is not ADHD or neurotypical at all, but I can definitely see with her in situations where we did have tense moments, she was only mirroring my own dysregulation.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So, what does a shame home mean today compared to what it meant before? Shame free.
so much less guilt, um, so much, so much less anxiety. It's calm, it's peaceful. We can sit down at a meal and we're happy. Nobody's glaring anybody down across the table. Nobody's, I'm done eating. Can I get up? I'm done. There's no reason for me to sit in here. We don't
Hmm.
have those things anymore.
And some
And
people might say it's so hard to actually create that when your kids are adult, but that's not your case. You made it happen, you know?
no, mine were 18 and 21 when all this happened.
Yeah.
Um, when I started making big shifts and big awarenesses. Would it have made a bigger impact on my kids had it happened when they were, had I had these awarenesses when they were 2, 3, 6, 8? For sure.
Yes.
Have they still learned lessons that are going to benefit them for the rest of their lives and with their relationships with their children? Most definitely.
Yes. That's why whenever any coach or myself explain this to anybody, they're like, I wish I had this when I was young,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yes.
it just would have made life so easy. It just has to be. Life is easy. We make it complicated. We complicate it. Yes, life's
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be easy. That's why we're here to enjoy life, right? But instead, we shame, we guilt, we look in the past 24/7, we look in the future, projecting the past, and we're never here to enjoy it. Because this is the only moment we can enjoy, right? Every
Mm-hmm.
other moment
Yeah.
can go forward or back. So, how can a parent tell if they are helping too much, and what are the signs?
When, hmm, if the child expects you to do something, you've overhelped.
Yeah, we've already
If the
conditioned.
child demands that you do something, you've overhelped. If you don't see them progressing or starting to do for themselves without being told over and over and over again, you're doing too much.
Yes. And that comes down to that gentle parenting, right? I'm not against gentle parenting, but that constant validation, constant feedback that we
Mhm.
need to give them, that consistency that belongs in the gentle parenting, that's too much. When you do that, they then expect it, and then when you're busy or when you're off, you can't provide that, then it becomes a problem, right? So a child should be able to, you should sit them down and leave them for a time period, and they should be able to complete whatever you gave them. It's okay to leave them. You don't need to sit with them. That's another thing, right? When during homework time, a lot of parents try to sit with their kids, right? But if you sit and watch your kid, the only thing you're going to do is try to overhelp. But the best thing to do is to leave a timer, give them the instructions, and walk away and come back.
And some children may need that physical presence to help them to focus and not get distracted by dust particles in the air. They can be distracted by anything, but that doesn't mean you have to be doing it for them or
Yeah.
with them. They
Yeah.
can do it. It's homework because it was taught already and they
Yeah.
need to practice it.
And if they do that, also you can train them, like do to 1 minute away, like few seconds away, like just walk away for a bit. Let them learn that if I leave, you can still continue. If I
Yes.
leave, it doesn't mean you have to follow me. It doesn't mean you have to start doing other things, right? Like little bit, you can start training them, right? And another thing is you never have should ever write for your kid, right? If you have the pen, then the wrong person has the pen or the pencil. If they're doing the work, they should be writing, even if their writing is messy and if it's not looking good, nothing is coming out. They should practice because that's the practice time to write. So
A
yeah,
lot
go
of
ahead.
parents say that the kids can't write, like they physically cannot make their letters readable. And if that's happening, that's the kind of thing that we can help with as coaches. Because it may be that there is a good, very good reason why they can't write. It could be that something needs to be addressed,
Yes,
like muscle development or fine motor skills.
yes,
There's things behind it, and it's not always a matter Well, it's not a matter of try harder. A lot of times we
Oh
say
yeah,
try
I
harder.
love it.
You're not trying hard enough to write that where I can read it. And
We've
that's
been loving that word so much in these lives. I've been loving that. Try
I've
harder.
been doing that. Yes, I'm like, my gracious, that's just a common theme. Try harder.
Come
I
on,
think,
try harder. Do a little harder.
yeah,
Come on, you
I
can
think
do it.
we grew up. My generation grew up with a lot of the try harder. I'm sure other generations did too. But try harder is not always the answer.
Hmm.
They need to be ready to try harder. They need to be ready to be aware of what they need to do differently to be more productive. Just saying it's not going to make it happen.
Exactly. And then if they're ready, guess what? You don't even have to say try harder. They're gonna do
Right,
it. They're gonna
right.
do it.
They're
You
going to
don't
do it
even.
intuitively because they will do what they are ready to do in the moment.
Yes. So there need to be nothing said. You're gonna enjoy the moment with them. That's it. So if somebody is listening right now and recognizes themselves in this story, I'm sure a lot of people can with ADHD. You know, if your kids have ADHD, you can recognize Judy's story very clearly. What's the first shift they should make this week or today?
They need to breathe themselves and they need to be aware that what they see coming out of their child is only a touch of what's going on inside their child. The regulate yourself so that you can see what's going on with your child with clarity and not with a response of tension and anger.
Yeah. And
You
there's
need
always a pattern, right? There's always a pattern. And if you become an observer, then
and get
reacting with it, you can really pick it out, right?
and at the same time you're modeling regulation for your child and they need it because they've got so much going on in their head they can't see the trees for the forest.
Yes.
But when you're modeling it, they have something they can try to mimic to regulate themselves.
So this week, regulate, start getting yourself out of the situation and observe, right? Really observe. And also see where you're overstepping. Like pull back some of the places you're over helping, overcompensating, overprotecting, over supporting. Pull at least one layer of that backward, like step back a little bit from that and observe. And then you can see, okay, because when we're in the moment and when we're so into it, step into it, we don't get to see anything. We're in it, right? So how can I pull myself back? I think that would be great way of uh, for a week. Just recognize your pattern,
Yeah.
right?
We put things out there that's adding to their dysregulation.
Yes. First step is awareness. Without awareness, there is no change. So
Exactly.
if you can start tuning into every moment and watching and studying like a scientist what's happening, right? Then you really see it. You're going to see patterns. You're going to see the conditioning that your child has already conditioned you into certain ways, right? We don't condition our kids. Can sometimes kids also condition us, right?
Right. They definitely can.
Yes, especially if they have ADHD, things like that. There's lots of conditioning they can do for us. So we need to watch the conditioning they're doing so that we can help them. So what do you want your son to say about your parenting 10 years from now?
I want him to say she did the best she could at the time. And when she knew better, she did better.
Yeah, beautiful. Love it. And that we talked about that earlier too, touched on that, right? Every parent always remember that because don't I mean guilt is such a bad thing to live with, right? As parents, we always do parent from all the things we know right now. Like I can't parent from something I don't know. So I did it my best. Tried my best.
Yep.
So anything else you want to add? Did I miss anything from the article that you wrote?
No, I think we covered it all. Just parents know you don't have to do this alone, and it doesn't have to hurt to be a parent.
Yes. Yeah. It should be fun.
It
It
should be.
should, yeah.
It should be rewarding. It should be fun. It should be enjoyable, and it should be impactful. It should add to your life as well as to your child's life.
Yes. So finish this sentence for me. The most loving thing a parent can do is.
The most loving thing a parent can do is to let your child learn from their life. Let them learn lessons that are going to help them be their best selves.
Yes. Let them fail. Let them fall.
Mhm.
Let them cut that paper crooked. Don't worry about it. These were my things. I was very concerned with cutting for a while. And then I had to back off. I said, back
And
off.
the big things you feel when they're in school are not the big things when they become adults. Let them climb those stairs to become an adult.
Mhm,
You don't
mhm.
carry them the whole way.
And what about guilt though? If I've already done something wrong, what about if I'm feeling guilt?
You did the best you could with what you knew at the time it happened. It's in the past. You can
Mhm.
decide to carry it and let it weigh down your future, or you can just recognize it. You know what? You were there, but I don't need you anymore. Let that go. It's in the
Yes.
past. You've learned from it. Move on.
Yeah. We always share this, right? The only thing from the past is lessons.
Right.
There's nothing more than lessons. So what lessons can you do? Just we talked about, right? Observation. Look at what's happening right now. What can I do? Where can I step out? I'm stepping in too much. Just even that alone creates a big shift. Big
Yes.
shift, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So that's how you can learn, live, and lead from this place. Lead yourself, lead your children, lead others. So that's why it's important not to go into the past and feel I'm guilty of this, I'm guilty of that. I should have done this better. I shouldn't have done that. I could have done this, right? It doesn't do anything.
Yes.
It's a
Shoulda,
vicious cycle.
couldas, and wouldas are time stealers. Energy stealers.
Anxiety boosters.
Right.
They're anxiety boosters. If you want them, go and find them.
Yeah.
Could have, would have. What was it? Could have, would have, should
Coulda,
have.
woulda, shouldas are
Yes.
stealers.
Yeah. If you're saying that, I would I would also observe that as well. When are you saying those things? So this is our magazine. It's now going to be called from now on Learning, Living, and Leading. Our next one will be in April. But this one is a must read because there are here, every coach shared something that they went through, something that they learned, and then they had to unlearn. We all have to prepare to unlearn, right? We're not always going to be perfect with what we learned. Sometimes we have to unlearn so we can relearn what's
Mhm.
going to work. And that's kind of what Readiness OS, because we've all learned to produce, try harder, grades, performance, outputs, race to the outputs, right? We've been living in a world like that, but
Mhm.
we need to unlearn those things so we can come back home to ourselves. And from here, we build what's possible. And people always talk about your potential, right? I don't even know if we know what that even means. Bringing out our own potential. Bringing out our potential is not race to get outcomes, right, Coach Judy? That's not bringing out your potential. That is race to get burned out.
That's adding your stress.
Yes. So
Be
how?
aware.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say be aware,
Yes.
be accepting, be encouraged, and be productive.
Yes. So come home, meaning home to yourself, to your soul, as a parent, as a teacher, as anybody listening to us, and then from that place observe, become aware of anything and everything that's happening. From there, you can make the changes. And that happens now and here. Awareness cannot happen in the past, awareness cannot happen in the future. Awareness can only happen in the now moment. So, however many times you can bring yourself on a daily, hourly, minute by minute basis to now and here, life becomes powerful because that's the place you can create, right, Coach Judy?
Yes.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. If you haven't read Coach Judy's, or any other coaches' articles, they're here. I have put the link for this article under this video. Please click it and follow the link. And when you get to the link, it'll ask for a password. The password for this one is FLOW, all capital letter, FLOW. And then you have access to all of our magazine, not just this one, but all of the issues that we have already launched. So please do read, share with us, comment. We love to hear from you. Anything to add, Coach Judy?
Um, the magazines are full of honesty and heart. They're not full of information. They're not full of tips, tricks, and hacks that are only going to be helpful in specific situations under the perfect conditions. It's just full of heart.
And most important thing is to understand that no one is perfect. No parent is ever perfect. We all had our own moments, and that our coaches and our whole movement is about bringing those forward so that it could be examples to others, right? Because a lot of time we stay in our own shame bubble, right, as parents. As
And that's
Thank
not
you.
saying don't learn and don't read and investigate, but what you read, learn, and investigate it should inspire thoughts,
Mm.
not make you feel obligated to do tasks.
Yes,
Look
absolutely.
for what nurtures your heart.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And we will be back with another live tomorrow. Take care. And always, always, always leave us a comment if any of this resonates. If you're going through something like this, just reach out to us. Coach Judy offers coaching. She is an amazing coach. So because we've gone through all of these things, it makes us understand anything that you're going through as well. Because we're not coming from a point of expertise, we're coming from lived experience and expertise together. That makes it powerful. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Coach Judy. Thank you so much.
Bye.